to Take Center Stage and Own It with Marisa. I am the CEO of Own It Magazine and Publishing Company, and I am super excited to have with me. You can see I'm sweating like crazy. Super excited to have with me today Jacqueline LuLu Brown, and she is the CEO and founder of Revolution Ascension. And what is amazing and incredible about this woman is she is the master. International traveler and wealth of wisdom and culture, diversity around the world. And so taking center stage and owning it with me is Jacqueline LuLu Brown.
Hi
Hey,
there.
beautiful.
Hello.
Welcome, welcome. We are so excited to be here with you today to talk to the ladies. Some of the men can glean from this, but talking to the ladies about the importance of pouring into self. And you are the guru of that, understanding why it's so important for us as professionals to take the time and retreat and connect with like-minded people and to be poured into. So, what are you up to lately? I hear that you'll be going to Morocco soon. Is that true?
Yes, it is. And so you're aware that in the first quarter, going into the second quarter of this year, we were kind of like really moving around. We had our retreat in Dubai, and I was so happy that you were there. And then from a philanthropy perspective, I went to South Africa and we did some work there with an organization that does a lot of outreach work. And now we are on our way to Morocco because we want to help women wrap up the end of the year, but we want to do that in with a couple of, I'll say, objectives. And one is to help women recover from burnout, to help them recover from constant fight flight, and to start by giving them an understanding of what it is and how to recognize it, and then how to recover from it. And then we just want to let women just sort of flourish in the moment to rejuvenate as we move in to 2024 and create some high level strategies for what they're going to accomplish in 2024.
Wow, you're hitting something that's super critical, especially at this time of the year, is talking about burnout. If we don't recover from burnout, we're starting, we're going to be starting the year in drought, right? We're going to be starting the year very highly stressed out. And how do you start off a year and you have all these projections?
Mhm.
And let's say you don't have any of your goals. You you're working for a company, you're working for an organization, you don't have any of your goals because you already got too much on your plate. It does not matter. It's so critically important, and talk to the audience because it's so critically important for you to recover, for you to take the time to get refreshed. That's why conferences are no longer just conferences now, they're conferences and retreats because you need to retreat from everything so that you have the time to get rebuilt, refreshed, rejuvenated, and you get, filled up to overflow so you can start the year off right. So let's go back a little bit and go into burnout. Talk to what they, because I know that that's the topic that you're going to be speaking to, because you are speaking and presenting in Morocco, and that's the part that you're going to be speaking to. But before you can, first of all, people have to recognize that they're burnt out and own that. So talk about burnout and why that's so important for women to slow down and hear exactly what you're saying today.
Sure. This is really a great question and a great topic. And so, what some people don't realize is before burnout really takes place, there's some other things that lead up to it. And I'm going to just really tap on fight, flight. And we know that fight flight is a response when we are either in a dangerous place or we need to react very quickly. We have to make a decision. Things happen in our body, everything from our heart rhythm to our adrenaline. Everything starts to move very quickly because what do we need to do? We need to make a decision. Are we going to fight or are we going to flight? Now, how that goes with burnout is that we are not meant to be in fight flight all the time. And sometimes life itself, we find ourselves where we are in fight, flight, fight, flight. You're in your career, it's fight, flight. Do it. Do I do it? How do I stand? Do I take a stand? Do I let it go? And the pressure between corporate jobs, owning your own business, driving revenue, or supporting shareholder value, regardless of what you're doing, there comes an amount of pressure with that. And
Mhm.
sometimes when we are not really well, I'm going to say we're not well with self care. When we have not taken the time to give ourselves that sacred self care, we will find ourselves in fight flight on a consistent basis. Now, because we're not meant to be in fight flight on a consistent basis, that now turns into burnout. And a lot of times we don't even recognize the symptoms of burnout. And there's physical symptoms, there's psychological and mental symptoms. And so that part now starts to affect us. And it takes us down a path that if we don't stop and course correct and take the appropriate action to now get out of that place and get ourselves back into a place of, and I'm going to say normalcy, because we think that normalcy is something strange or doesn't exist anymore. You know, it might be a new normal, but you have to have some level of normalcy in your life. Everything can't always be grinding. You're just grinding and you're shoveling and you're grinding and you're shoveling. And then sometimes you're filling, but you're filling for everyone else except for yourself.
Right.
And so
Right.
this burnout is really critical that we recognize it and then we begin to do something about it. And that's what's really great with retreats, because just the word retreat within itself, sometimes you have to retreat to come out
Absolutely.
stronger. You have to retreat to come out smarter. You have to retreat to come out more creative. And so there's so many reasons why an individual will need to go on a retreat that addresses the needs. And the nice thing that I'm seeing in the industry is that corporations are realizing how important this is. They are realizing that it is very important for women, not just at the C-suite level, but women overall in their organizations. And so there are a lot of organizations that are now supporting their female executives and females in leadership to actually go on these retreats, because it's addressing the things in a person's life that actually will affect their performance in their job. So if you're looking for people to come in and show up every day with shareholder value mindset and performing so that they are fulfilling shareholder value, you have to make sure that you're giving them an opportunity to stay whole. And if they get burnt out, getting burned out, people make it like it's such a bad word and that it means that you're weak. And it doesn't. It just means you have come to a place where you need to stop and you need to realign and recover and retreat so that you can continue to move on. It's
Right.
sort of like speed bumps. When you think about speed bumps in the road, speed bumps slow you down. but they don't stop you from moving forward. Now, when the speed bump is there, you slow down, you get over the speed bump, and then you pick up the pace. Rather than if you fly over the speed bump, what do? You tear up the bottom of your car. So, kind of like, understanding that this is something that's really important, especially around performance in career or business.
Yeah, yeah. You want to stay refreshed. So that's
Yes.
why it's important for you to be proactive, not reactive. So in your scheduling, I know this is the time of the year, October, September, October. It's the time of the year I always plan out for the coming year.
Mhm.
And I do my reflecting. Yeah, I know it's the ninth month of the year. So nine is actually judgment. And I'm just thinking about that talking to you. Nine is judgment. And judgment is, how do you judge? How have I been faring so far this year? Every once in a while, you need to check in and do a SWOT analysis of how you're doing. If companies know that it's important to do a SWOT analysis quarterly, from quarter to quarter, and then some on a sub level will do it periodically between quarters, just to see how well they're doing. It's an analytical tool to help you measure your performance level. We need to do that as individuals. Once we've been exposed to a methodology, a system, or a tool or resource that has worked, it has been successful, and it gives us clarity, then we should be applying it. Because even with me, a project that I'm getting ready to work on, I thought about succession planning, how we don't even use that in our, that should be a part of your family. Succession planning is part of the family. But I want to go back onto the burnout side and the importance of being proactive, not reactive, because that's when you go into the fight or flight. When you do the SWOT analysis, when you do those kind of things, you kind of know the triggers, what sets you off, what makes you tick, and what ticks you off is what I, I like to say. And so it's so important for that, and it's important for organizations to check in. EI is so important. Emotional intelligence is so critical to knowing how your people are doing. And then also too, from the individual's perspective, looking at the organization and valuing the relationship of the organization with themselves, is POS, perceived organizational support. How do they see that the company really supports them in their time of need? So when a leader or someone is coming to a supervisor, manager, director, etc., and saying, "Hey, I'm being transparent. This is what I'm going through," it's critical for that person of authority to recognize that, because the same way you're looking for them to perform for you as an employee is the same way that that employee is looking for how you're going to perform for them as their employee, as their employer. So that is so critically important to how we can, because everything is not in our control. We want to avoid burnout, but we also need those that we're attached to that should recognize it and support when we need these kind of retreats and conferences. So you got to look to family. Family has to support your time away, right? Companies. So talk to them. I want you to share with them about how companies can actually help in paying for, because there are certain things that these retreats, these conferences fall under the criteria of career development. So there are ways that this can be fashioned so companies can pay for it, so that it's not a taxation on the employee, the leader, and their family finances, so that they can continue. Because at the end of the day, bottom line is, the you want to get paid as the leader, the individual, the professional. You want to get paid, right? And at the end of the day, the organization wants to make money based on your performance. Your performance and how you show up ultimately across the board, does it or
Yes.
does it not, Lulu, affect profitability? And we don't connect that. And we have to connect that. So if you want profitability to be sustainable, you want growth to be sustainable, then your people have to be sustainable. And so we have to make sure that that's what the POS from the employee side is, why it's so important and valuable to organizations, is because at the end of the day, if that is a negative, that and it's going to show up in their overall performance. That's why conferences and retreats like these that speak to EI, emotional intelligence, that helps build up, that trains individuals that participate in it how to navigate through this thing called life so that they can show up in their gifting and their talenting on the job in a more profound way. That's why these opportunities are critical for you too, as an individual as well as organizations, because we look like we're talking to both today. It's so critically important for them to both get the value of experiences like this. Because when you leave spending time with a Jacqueline Lulu Brown, when you go to Morocco, when you go to another place, and you can really do the deep tissue work that's required for you to tap into self, to rejuvenate, refresh, rebuild, strengthen up for the next wave. It's powerful. You walk away from that seeing the bigger picture again. You become skilled in the art of navigating through the noise, the distractions, the ups, the downs, and you know how to get tunneled focus. You know how to have that tunnel focus and those blinders on because you see the bigger picture. So talk a little bit about the experience of Morocco. I know that you are the guru because I sat and I watched you personally. You were schooling the natives. That's how many times you've been to Dubai. Talk to us about your experience with Morocco and what that would feel like when they're there.
So Morocco, it's going to be more intimate than when we were in Dubai. And that's because this is really customized for that C-suite female leader. And you mentioned SWAT, and I love that because we are going to do individual SWATs. We are going to help the women to understand, tying back to burnout recovery, but we're going to tie in there what their strengths are, what their, and I don't like to use the word weaknesses because I always like to substitute that to
I
say
know.
developmental opportunities, but it's a SWOT. So weaknesses, opportunities, and what are the threats? There are threats sometimes that are internal to the organization, but sometimes they're external to the individual. And when they are experiencing external threats and then threats within the organization, now again, you're driving towards that burnout. And so that now becomes a contributing factor. And unless we can identify all of this and then solution it, this isn't just, okay, you go back and, all right, now I know I've identified all these things, but they're going to have a solutions plan. They'll start while we're there, but then when they depart, they're going to have some solutions so that they don't end up right back where they were. More importantly, when you help individuals decide what they want for their personal life strategically, when you can help them take a look at what it is they want that's outside of their career, they are now more prepared to flourish in the organization itself. They're now more prepared because they know what their personal goals are. They already know what the organizational goals are. You're gonna find out what the new goals and objectives and where the company is headed and what it is that they are going to require of you, sometimes before January. Sometimes it happens in October, a month. Sometimes it happens in the fourth quarter. But the key to, and I'm going to say phenomenal performance. I'm not talking about being great. I'm not talking about being excellent. I'm talking about being phenomenal. The key to being phenomenal in your workspace, as well as being phenomenal as a leader, is for you to know how to align. Align what's going on in your career to what your aspirations are and for your personal life, and then have a strategy. then that strategy is aligned so that now the train is moving forward in a manner that it's not leaving the station sort of like all over the place. Or more
Right.
importantly, a train, and I'm using example here, but a train pulls out the station. But what about the person that's running down the platform like, oh my God, I'm just hoping that I can hop on. So you
Yep.
might have something that you need, that's really trying to catch up. And you just haven't realized that I need to slow down and I need to bring all these things into alignment. Something else that you said that we are going to address, and you said deep tissue, and
Yep.
we are going to go deep. I can remember going to so many trainings and uh, leadership, and leadership within itself is sitting up, and there's a bunch of different trainings for the leader that fall underneath there. And I can remember going to all of that. I could still remember that there was still something missing, because in those environments, 9 times out of 10, you are still not going to like address what really needs to be addressed. So when you use the word deep tissue, yes, we are going to go deep, and we're going to talk about the things that we need to, but we never do. There is a
Right.
set of conversations that we know we need to have them, and we need to explore, and we need to go deep so that we can come back up recovered, and in some cases transformed. But for whatever the reason, and there are many, we don't talk about it, we don't let it out. And sometimes that's because of secret shame. Sometimes that's because the world systems are sort of putting us in this box, and you're weak if you speak or you're experiencing something that is very often not said, but a lot of people are experiencing it. So we're going to do that deep tissue, and
Right.
we're going to help people solution. We're going to help them to not just identify. We can identify all day, every day, but we want them to walk away with solutions that they are going to implement into their lives. And they may never speak about these things ever again, but they've identified and they've spoken about them, and now they have a plan of how they are going to recover from them or even transform from them.
Yeah, that's very good. We're gonna close out on that. But what we're gonna do is, so make sure you watch this. You gotta watch all of these series back to back, because we're gonna tap into political savvy, and we're gonna tap
Mhm.
into, in our next session, we're gonna tap into that box that you're talking about, because we
Yes.
need solutions. We don't talk about political savvy. We don't talk about navigating through the culture of an organization successfully without it stressing us the heck out. We don't talk about the silent noise that's going on, the bullying, the things like that. And that's why these retreats are so important, is to teach someone, if someone could be the bigger person, teach someone about the bigger picture, being the bigger person, so that the company itself can succeed, and that you can take negatives that are going on in the company and turning them around to positive. So we're going to close out on that. I want you to give your closing remarks, Lulu. I want to leave that up to you.
Thank you so much. Well, I appreciate being here on Own It today. And I love the name Own It. So I'm going to leave the parting words are going to be to our viewers that own everything about your life. Own it and take the action that you need to take. Take that first step. No one else in your circle may not be taking that step. Well, first of all, if they're not taking a step, you're in the wrong circle. But
Mhm.
step outside of that and own everything about you, and then move forward with a strategy so that you are living your highest best life.
Now, she didn't plug it, but I'm going to say this. If you want to get all that she's been talking about, you want to follow her and I, because I'm going with her, to Morocco. You want to go to Morocco. Now, I'm going to glean. I'm going because I want to be poured into. And so you better join us. So on this ticker below, it has her website. You go to her website, you hit her up on Facebook, you hit her up on LinkedIn, wherever it is. Connect with her so that you can make it to Morocco. That's in December, correct?
Yes, it is. December 11th through the 17th. It's purposely in December at the end of the year. And this is a very specially priced retreat. This is normally double what the fee is. It's normally twice that, but this is literally a gift by the location owners themselves, MWASI community, as well as Revolution Ascension. We have partnered together to provide an opportunity for people to experience something that they may normally not at an affordable cost. So again, you've given my website. They can find us on Facebook. They can find us on any of the social medias, Instagram, LinkedIn, but you really want to reach out for us so that if you want more details, we can provide them to you.
All right, all right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're out. Thank you so much for your time. We hope we have been a blessing to you. Till next time, don't forget, we're going to go over politics, political savvy, out of the box.